My best friend, Mandy Cooper, and my boyfriend, Logan Bennett, had been at each other's throats since freshman year of college. Years ago, a careless mistake of Mandy's indirectly led to the death of Logan's best friend. Ever since that day, Logan made it his life's mission to wreck every ounce of happiness she ever tried to build. The day he crashed her third attempt at a wedding, I had just gotten back from studying abroad. Right in the middle of the chaos and shouting, Logan's eyes locked onto mine from across the crowded room. It was love at first sight. Now, 5 years into our relationship, he was still obsessively scheming to ruin Mandy's 9th wedding. I've begged him to drop it 1,000,000 times, but he always shuts me down with the same stone-cold answer: she doesn't deserve to be happy. Mandy came to my place in tears, begging for help. She planned to sneak off and throw a low-key wedding out of the country, scheduling it for the exact day Logan was supposed to fly back from his business trip. She needed me to keep tabs on him at home. Maya, please. This guy is a total catch. He's a college guy, hot enough to be an actor, and I'm going to marry him. You have to help me keep Logan off my back. I promised her I would. To stall Logan, I blew up his phone asking when his flight was landing, but I didn't get a single reply. Then I opened Instagram and scrolled past a photo from Mandy's wedding. Standing right beside her, caught in a grainy side profile shot, was Logan. The truth hit me like a physical punch. 5 years of love, and every second of it was a sick joke. Just as my chest tightened with a numb, hollow ache, the doorbell rang. I opened the door to find a ridiculously handsome guy standing on my doorstep, dressed in a sharp tuxedo. "Hey," he said, offering a casual smile, "I'm the rent-a-groom MS. Cooper hired. I'm here for the gig." I stared at him, and suddenly, a quiet laugh bubbled up in my chest. If Logan could turn around and tie the knot with Mandy, why on earth should I turn down a fake husband dropped right on my doorstep? The first photo from Mandy's wedding on Instagram only showed her. My heart hurt a little thinking about how I couldn't be there to support her. However, 2 minutes later, 2 of Logan's closest friends posted updates from the venue. One of the pictures was blurry, showing only half of the groom's profile. I had looked at that face every single day for 5 years. I recognized him instantly. It was Logan. He had this relaxed, completely satisfied look on his face, which I had never seen before. I stared at the screen while sheer absurdity and crushing despair washed over me, choking the breath right out of my chest. Right then, my phone vibrated. It was a text from Logan. "Maya, something came up at the office in Auckland. I have to stay 3 more days. Eat well and get some sleep. I picked out your wedding ring while I was here. Love you." Looking at those 2 words, "love you," my stomach churned with sick disgust. I dialed his number immediately. He picked up on the second ring, using that same sweet, soothing tone he always used. "Maya, it's pretty late over here, and I'm still stuck at a business dinner. Go to bed, okay? I'll talk to you when I get home." Through the receiver, a girl's voice floated over the background noise. I knew that voice like the back of my hand. "Logan, are you coming or what? Do I seriously have to beg?" Before I could get a single word out, he hung up on me. Of course. It was his wedding night. This was the happy ending he had been chasing for years. There was no way he was going to let me ruin it. I immediately called my younger brother, Ethan Brooks. Ever since I started dating Logan, my own brother had basically turned into Logan's loyal sidekick. Unsurprisingly, Ethan was at the wedding too. Just minutes ago, he had even posted a fake, sentimental story on Instagram. "Mandy, I hope you stay happy forever." He helped hide this from his own sister just to protect his secret crush. What a great brother. The moment the FaceTime call connected, Ethan panicked and tried to duck out of the frame. Guilt was practically written across his face. "Scan the QR code on your phone right now to mirror your messaging app to my laptop," I said. "Maya, Logan isn't even back in the country yet. Why are you losing your mind on me? How do you know he's not back? Are you with him right now?" I asked. Ethan stammered, "I mean, Logan and I are in a group chat together. Is it really that weird that I know where he is?" I let out a cold laugh. "Scan the code. Don't make me call Grandpa right now to have him drag your butt back to school." That shut him up instantly. He caved and scanned the screen. "Look, I only went to Mandy's wedding to check things out for you since you couldn't go." I hung up on him. When the desktop app synced, the pinned group chat name burned my eyes. It was called Operation Cover-Up. There were 4 people in the chat. Logan, his 2 closest friends, and my backstabbing baby brother. I scrolled up to read the messages sent 2 hours ago. "Tyler, Logan is a legend for pulling off a whole fake business trip. His girl is waiting at home while he gets married to another person abroad. Nobody plays the game like him. Justin, for real. He ruined Mandy's weddings 8 times. If he didn't lock her down today, he was gonna snap. Ethan, I feel sick about this. It's my sister on one side and Mandy on the other. Tyler, are you sure my sister will not recognize Logan's profile in that photo you posted? Tyler, it's blurry as hell, what are you scared of? Besides, your sister is so obsessed with Logan she'd turn a blind eye anyway. Logan has made his feelings for Mandy obvious for years. You think your sister doesn't know? She just refuses to break up with him, so she suffers in silence. Look at her. She hasn't said a word. She's clearly taking the hit. Ethan, honestly, my sister isn't the type to take hits quietly. My family won't just let this slide. Tyler, so what if you have money? Can you mess with Logan's family? Are you guys gonna eat him alive or something? The last message was from Logan, sent just 10 minutes ago. Getting married in New Zealand isn't going to trigger a bigamy charge back home anytime soon. Ethan, relax. I'll take full responsibility for your sister. I stared at those words and burst into a bitter laugh. 5 years of pouring my heart out to him, and to him, it all boiled down to taking responsibility. The doorbell rang. Standing at my doorstep was a guy in a sharp tuxedo. He was tall, lean, and ridiculously handsome. Hey, he said, offering a casual smile, I'm the rent-a-groom Ms. Cooper hired. I'm here for the gig. Before I could process what was happening, a notification chimed from my laptop behind me. In the Operation Cover-Up group chat, Tyler had just dropped a message. Look who finally came out of the bridal suite. Good luck making babies. My entire body trembled as memories from 5 years ago flooded back like a broken dam. That was Mandy's 3rd attempt at a wedding. I had been studying abroad during her first 2, so she never invited me. When I got back, I even complained that she was not treating me like a real best friend. She had given me a forced, tight smile back then. She told me there was this absolute psycho obsessed with revenge, and she did not want me traveling all that way just to watch a train wreck. I had naively tried to comfort her. What psycho? Maybe he's just into you and acting out to get your attention. Her face turned deathly pale. She shook her head fiercely. Maya, don't say stuff like that. His best friend died because of me. He hates my guts. That day, I swore I would protect her. I genuinely thought the ceremony would go off without a hitch. However, halfway through, Logan burst through the doors. He casually dropped an Amex black card at the groom's feet. There's $100 grand on that. Get lost. The groom picked up the card and slunk away like a coward. Mandy bit her lip, her eyes burning with tears. Logan. Do you really have to push me into a corner like this? Logan let out a cruel laugh. Pushing you? As long as I'm breathing, you're never marrying anyone else. Whispers erupted across the room. Seeing her tremble, so humiliated she could barely stand, a rush of heat surged to my head. I hurled myself in front of her like a human shield. If you have a problem, take it out on me. I yelled, closing my eyes tight, Mandy is my best friend. The violent shove I braced for never came. Instead, a wave of warm breath brushed past my forehead. I opened my eyes and locked onto a pair of dark, intense eyes staring down at me. He looked at me for 2 solid seconds, then his lips curved into a sharp, dangerously charming smirk. Before I could react, his fingers wrapped tight around my wrist, and he yanked me toward the exit. Every single guest stared at our backs that day. He pulled me through the crowd like a groom sweeping me away from my own ruined wedding. For a brief moment, it felt like I was the bride all along. I fell for him, right then and there. Later, when he confessed his feelings to me, his voice was dripping with absolute devotion. Maya, the crowd was deafening that day, but the second I looked across that room, I knew you were the one. I don't want anyone else in this lifetime. I said yes. That same day, I went straight to Mandy to come clean and apologize. Her expression turned sour for a split second, but she quickly forced a soft smile. It's totally fine, Maya. Honestly, maybe if you two are together, you can talk some sense into him and get him to leave me alone. Back then, I thought she was just being sweet and forgiving. Looking back now, that line was not sweet at all. It was a sharp, taunting jab hidden behind a smile. For 5 years, I begged Logan to drop his vendetta. For 5 years, he went ahead and wrecked wedding after wedding anyway. Every time he smirked with smug satisfaction after sabotaging Mandy's life, I chose to look the other way. I kept telling myself over and over that Mandy was responsible for his best friend's death. How could he possibly love her? If he loved her, why didn't they just end up together from the start? Why did he choose me? The truth was that my entire existence was just a pawn he used to force her to surrender. I was a disposable prop she used to test if he still cared. Mandy had been trying to tell me all along that no matter how hard I tried, his sick obsession would always belong to her. The cold, hard truth proved that I had lost completely. My eyes burned with unshed tears as I turned around, gesturing for the guy at the door to step inside. "What's your name? How much did Mandy pay you?" "Leo Carter," he said, stepping into the house. "Miss Cooper booked me through a dating app. $300 for the day." He had a sharp nose, warm, clear eyes, and a face so striking it looked totally flawless. Yet his aura was calm and steady, nothing like a typical college kid. "With looks like yours, only 300? I asked, scanning him. "Did you guys know each other before this?" Leo offered a soft, gentle smile. "Nope. She posted the job, and I took the gig. Strictly business." He paused, his eyes searching mine. "Are you unhappy with the service, Ms. Brooks?" My stomach dropped slightly. From the moment he walked in, I had never told him my last name. I did not press him on it. I turned around, poured 2 glasses of red wine, and handed one over. I said, taking a slow sip, "Actually, I'm very happy with it. I heard you're still in college. How about a long-term contract? You don't have to do anything weird. Just marry me." Leo took the wine glass from my hand and offered me a slow, unreadable smile. "Ms. Brooks, since we're getting married anyway, doing everything for real makes it look a whole lot more convincing." My throat felt tight and constricted. Throwing caution to the wind, I tilted my head back and swallowed half the glass in one sharp gulp. "Fine. Let's go get the marriage certificate right now. I should have figured it out much sooner." Mandy asking me to stay home and watch Logan, only to send this hired rent-a-groom right to my doorstep, was no accident. There was never a real groom for her 9th wedding, just like there was never one for the previous 8. From start to finish, it was always just a messed-up game of emotional tug-of-war between her and Logan. I was sitting right in the middle of it, playing the part of the absolute idiot. Sending Leo to my front door was Mandy's twisted way of throwing it in my face. She wanted me to know that she was one of the masterminds behind this whole setup. Since they went to all this trouble to set the stage for me, I might as well play along. When we walked out of the county clerk's office, my phone vibrated in my hand. It was a message from Mandy. First came a shaky video clip. Logan's familiar profile was painfully clear on screen, making my eyes sting like crazy. Then came her text message. "Maya, I'm taking Logan for myself. Think of that college guy on your doorstep as my makeup gift to you. He's got the face and the body, so you're not losing out, right? Honestly, all those weddings I planned over the years were just for him. I wanted to see if he gave a damn about me. I never expected him to show up today and actually marry me. It wasn't until this exact moment that I finally realized I love him too. Also, about his best friend who died because of me? That was just his family dog. When you told me years ago you wanted to date him, I didn't hold a grudge. We've been best friends forever. You'll forgive me just like I forgave you back then, right?" I stood outside the clerk's office as the cold wind whipped against my cheeks. I was completely frozen. Ridiculous. It was all so utterly ridiculous. 8 years of dramatic, toxic battles, 8 chaotic weddings ruined, years of his intense hatred and years of her keeping secrets. The best friend who supposedly died because of her was literally just a dog. My 5 years of pure devotion, and every single wedding I tried to protect her from, were built on a pile of absurd lies. Now she had the nerve to ask for my forgiveness. A sudden laugh bubbled up in my chest, spilling out until I could not stop. Forgive her? I was going to give both of them the biggest, most unforgettable wedding gift of their lives. Back at my apartment, the Operation Cover-Up group chat was still popping off on my laptop screen. "Tyler, Logan, your girl is insanely obedient. You give her one lame excuse and she doesn't even question you all night. You seriously need to write a playbook. Logan, she's head over heels in love with me. You guys wish you had it this easy. Ethan, Logan, you better hurry back home and check on my sister. My heart is beating super fast right now, like I have some bad gut feeling. Justin, chill out. It's not like your sister hasn't been taking this quietly for years. She's just scared Logan will dump her if she makes a scene. Logan, Ethan, stop worrying. I'm not dumping your sister. I can handle both sides. Once Mandy finishes her wedding visit with her family, I'll settle her in Auckland. She gets a share of the villas and real estate here. As for your sister, I'll take good care of her back home. The first thing I'll do when I get back is to marry her. She has been waiting for this for years anyway. Tyler, take it easy, man. Mandy's gonna wear you out over there. How are you gonna perform when you get back home to your girl?" I stared at the screen and let out a cold, sharp laugh. Logan really outdid himself, playing both sides with such calculated effort. In our 3rd year together, I had subtly brought up the topic of marriage, but he always brushed it off, saying there was no rush. A few months ago, I caught him staying up late in his study looking at wedding dress designs. My heart had soared, stupidly believing he had finally decided to settle down with me. Looking back now, he was not picking a dress for me at all. He was choosing one for today's bride. I remembered leaning over his shoulder that night, pointing at the screen like an idiot. I love this off-the-shoulder gown. It looks so elegant. He had paused for a second before reaching out to ruffle my hair. Yeah. The dress, the venue, the ring, I want to take my time planning all of it. My princess deserves the absolute best and most perfect wedding in the world. No rush. The main point was always, no rush. Back then, I thought it meant he treasured me and took us seriously, so I played the good, understanding girlfriend and never pushed him. In the end, my patience only gave him the perfect chance to pursue someone else behind my back. His proud trick for keeping a girl obedient was nothing more than walking all over my heart and self-respect. Now that he had already married Mandy overseas, he was casually offering to marry me as if I were nothing more than a consolation prize. Trying so hard to satisfy both his heart and his body at the same time must have been exhausting. Too bad for him, I was officially off the market now. He did not need to trouble himself anymore. As I stared blankly at the screen, a pair of warm hands suddenly wrapped around my wrists. Leo leaned down, his palms burning hot against my skin. Maya, I told you, he whispered, his voice laced with an intense, sudden possessiveness, I'm in this for real. He led me toward the master bedroom on the second floor. Right as the heat between us peaked, the phone on the nightstand started vibrating uncontrollably. It was Logan. The sun was just coming up over where he was, and he finally decided to show some mercy and check in on his girl. Leo glanced down at the screen, picked it up, and tapped the speakerphone button without missing a beat. Maya, are you asleep? Logan's voice came through the speaker, raspy with that typical post-coital huskiness. I was stuck drinking with clients all night, which is why I had to hang up so fast. I'm flying back tomorrow to give you a big surprise. A surprise? Like offering me a pity marriage? No thanks. A tiny noise slipped from the back of my throat. My voice trembled slightly, heavy with the breathless heat still lingering in the air. Logan knew better than anyone what I sounded like when I made that noise. In an instant, his voice turned sharp and icy over the line. Maya? What are you doing? Who's with you? Silence stretched across the bedroom, broken only by the low, distorted breathing coming through my phone's speaker. Maya? Logan's voice cracked with a mixture of disbelief and rising fury. Answer me right now. Who the hell is over there? I looked down at the phone resting on the nightstand. 5 long years, eh? Tone like that from Logan would have sent me into a spiral of anxiety. I would have rushed to explain, to soothe his unpredictable temper, to prove my complete devotion. Now, sitting naked beneath the crisp linen sheets beside a man I had officially married just hours ago, I felt nothing. Not a single trace of fear. Just a cool, liberating emptiness. Leo didn't say a word. He didn't need to. He simply reached out, his long fingers trailing warm sparks down the curve of my spine, before taking the phone off the nightstand. He brought it to his lips, his voice smooth, low, and utterly nonchalant. She's busy, Mr. Bennett. Call back never. Who the fuck are you? Logan roared, his voice breaking through the speaker. Put Maya on the phone. Maya, if you don't pick up right now, I swear to God. Leo pressed the red button, terminating the call mid-threat. Without missing a beat, he tapped the screen a few times, blacklisting Logan's number, before tossing the device casually onto the armchair across the room. He turned back to me, his dark eyes gleaming in the dim ambient light of the bedroom. Did I step out of line, Mrs. Carter? Hearing the name Mrs. Carter sent a strange, pleasant chill down my neck. Not at all, I murmured, sliding my arms around his neck, pulling him down. In fact, you were far too polite. Leo chuckled, a deep, resonant sound against my collarbone. I'll remember that. For next time. That night, for the first time in 5 years, I didn't lie awake worrying about Logan's next sudden disappearance or his next cold emotional withdrawal. I slept deeply, held securely in the arms of a stranger who felt more real than the man I had given half a decade of my life to. When I opened my eyes the next morning, the space beside me was empty, but the faint scent of cedar and citrus remained on the pillows. I sat up, wrapping a silk robe around myself, and walked down to the kitchen. Leo was standing by the island, wearing a simple dark gray cashmere sweater and slacks, casually pouring hot coffee into 2 mugs. Good morning, he said, offering a warm smile that reached his eyes. He set a mug down in front of me. Black, 2 sugars, right? I froze, looking at the mug, then up at him. How did you know that? Yesterday, in the rush of emotional chaos, I had accepted his presence as a bizarre gift from fate. But now, in the clear morning light, reality began to settle in. A $300 rent-a-groom hired off an app doesn't know how his boss takes her coffee. He doesn't know her last name before she mentions it. And he certainly doesn't carry himself with the quiet, effortless authority Leo possessed. Leo took a slow sip from his own mug, his gaze locking onto mine with steady calm. Mandy posted a job listing on a high-end concierge app 3 days ago. Specifically looking for a handsome substitute groom to deliver to your address. And you just happened to accept it? I asked, leaning against the counter. I didn't happen to accept it, Leo said softly. I bought out the agency's priority rights the moment I saw your address attached to the request. My heart skipped a beat. Why? Leo set his mug down, stepping closer until he was standing right in front of me. Because I've been waiting for you to wake up for 3 years, Maya. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, sleek black leather card holder, laying it on the island between us. Beside it lay a heavy silver signet ring engraved with a family crest. I'm not a college kid, Leo said calmly. I'm the managing director of Carter Capital. I met your grandfather 3 years ago during the European port acquisition. You were at the charity gala in Geneva, wearing a navy blue dress. Looking entirely miserable while Logan spent the entire evening on his phone. Ignoring you. Memory jolted through my mind. Geneva. 3 years ago. Logan had abandoned me at the gala table to spend 4 hours outside arguing with Mandy over her 4th attempt at an engagement. I wanted to approach you that night, Leo continued, his voice dropping into a quiet, intense register. But you were loyal to a fault. You wore your devotion like armor. So I waited. I watched Bennett Corp's financials, I watched Logan's toxic circus, and I waited for the day you would finally realize your worth. I stared at him, my mind spinning. So yesterday, when Mandy sent you here. Mandy thought she was hiring a desperate model to humiliate you, Leo smiled, a dangerous, razor-sharp curve of his lips. She had no idea she was handing me the one key I'd been waiting 3 years to turn. When I walked up to your doorstep, I had the marriage license documents prepped in my car. He looked at me, completely unrepentant. I took advantage of your anger, Maya. But everything I offered you yesterday, and everything I offer you now, is 100% real. I looked at the silver signet ring, then up at Leo's striking, unyielding face. A normal woman might have panicked, feeling manipulated all over again. But as I looked at Leo, I didn't feel trapped. I felt understood. Unlike Logan, who used lies to cage me and humiliate me, Leo had laid all his cards on the table, offering me a seat at the high-stakes board rather than a spot in the audience. Carter Capital, I said slowly, a small smile touching my lips. Isn't Bennett Corp currently desperately seeking a $50 million credit line from your firm to pull through their Q3 liquidity crisis? Leo's eyes sparkled with deep, dark amusement. They're scheduled to pitch to my board on Thursday morning. Good, I said, picking up my coffee and taking a sip. Let's make sure they don't get a single cent. Before Leo could reply, my phone, which had been turned off all morning, suddenly buzzed violently on the counter where I had just plugged it in. Dozens of missed calls and unread messages flooded the screen. Most were from Logan, escalating from demands to furious threats, and finally to unhinged panic. There were also 15 missed calls from my younger brother, Ethan, and 3 frantic voice notes from Mandy. I tapped the first voice note from Mandy. Her voice was shrill, laced with fake concern and underlying spite. Maya. Oh my God, Logan saw a picture of that guy in your apartment and he went completely crazy. He abandoned me at the airport in Auckland and bought a private charter flight back home. Why are you doing this? You know how dangerous Logan's temper is. Are you trying to ruin everything after I finally found my happiness? I played the next voice note. It was Ethan, his voice shaking with fear. Sis. Where are you? Logan landed 2 hours ago. He's out of his mind. He checked your apartment and saw all his clothes thrown out. He's heading to Grandpa's estate right now. He thinks you're cheating on him. Sis, please hide, he's going to destroy that guy. I turned off the screen, setting the phone down. He's at my grandfather's estate, I told Leo. Leo picked up his coat from the back of the dining chair, draping it over his arm with relaxed elegance. Shall we go greet your ex-boyfriend, then? It's rude to keep a furious groom waiting. The Brooks family estate sat on a sprawling private hilltop overlooking the northern coast of the city. When Leo's sleek, dark-armored Maybach pulled up the long cobblestone driveway, the courtyard was already in chaos. Logan's black SUV was parked crookedly across the fountain circle, its driver's side door left wide open. Standing on the grand marble front steps was my grandfather, Arthur Brooks. Despite being in his late 70s, the old man stood straight as an iron pillar, leaning on his mahogany cane, his face carved from cold stone. Beside him stood Ethan, cowering like a beaten dog, pale and sweating profusely. At the bottom of the steps, Logan was pacing back and forth like a caged predator. His dark suit from yesterday was rumpled, his hair unkempt, his eyes bloodshot from a red-eye flight and utter lack of sleep. Grandpa Brooks. You have to give me an explanation. Logan was yelling, his voice raw and harsh. I've given Maya 5 years of my life. I was planning to marry her as soon as I returned from my business trip. And what does she do? She brings some low-class gigolo into our home the second my back is turned. Shut your mouth, Logan Bennett, Grandpa Arthur said, his deep voice carrying absolute authority across the courtyard. You raise your voice in my house one more time, and I will have security throw you off this mountain. I have the right to demand answers. Logan snarled, stepping up a stair. Ethan told me. Ethan saw the posts. Maya traded me for some rent-a-groom Mandy hired. As a joke. She's making a fool out of me. She didn't make a fool out of you, Logan, I said, stepping out of the Maybach. The courtyard went dead silent. Logan whipped his head around. The moment his eyes landed on me, a mixture of possessive relief and burning rage crossed his face. Maya. He strode toward me, his hand reaching out aggressively to grab my arm. Where the hell have you been? Who was that guy on the phone last night? Tell me it was a sick joke. Tell me right now. Before his hand could even get within 6 inches of my skin, a tall figure stepped smoothly in front of me. Leo caught Logan's wrist midair. The grip was swift, precise, and unyielding. Logan tried to yank his arm back. But Leo's hand didn't budge an inch. Keep your hands to yourself, Mr. Bennett, Leo said softly, his tone as cold as an Arctic winter. Logan stared at Leo, his eyes widening as he registered the man in front of him. He had expected a scruffy, desperate college student pulling a cheap stunt for $300. Instead, he was looking at a man who towered over him. Wearing a bespoke Savile Row suit, carrying an aura of absolute dominance that made Logan's frantic rage look like a child's temper tantrum. You. Logan gritted his teeth, his arm trembling as he tried to break Leo's hold. You're the rent-a-groom? How much did Mandy pay you, huh? 1,000? 10,000? Name your price and get the fuck out of here before I ruin your life. Leo released Logan's wrist with a flick of his hand, causing Logan to stumble back half a step. Leo pulled a white linen handkerchief from his breast pocket, calmly wiping his fingers as if he had touched something filthy, before tossing it into the nearby trash bin. My price is priceless, Mr. Bennett, Leo said smoothly. And as for my life, I doubt a man whose company is currently facing bankruptcy by the end of this quarter has the power to ruin it. Logan's face turned bright red. What did you say? Maya, Logan turned back to me, his voice pitching into a desperate, gaslighting tone he had used on me 1,000 times before. Maya, listen to me. You're being scammed. This guy is just using you to get to your family's money. I know you're mad because I had to stay extra days in Auckland for work. I know. I haven't given you the wedding you wanted yet, but I told you, I picked out your ring. I was going to propose the moment I got back. He reached into his jacket pocket, pulling out a small velvet box, snapping it open to reveal a diamond ring. Look. I bought this for you. 5 carats. Just like you wanted. Drop this ridiculous act, send this fake husband away, and come home with me right now. I'll forgive you for what happened last night. He'll forgive me. The sheer absurdity of his words almost made me laugh out loud. 5 years of my youth, 5 years of loyalty, 5 years of being his quiet, obedient safety net, and here he was, standing in front of my family home, offering to forgive me for catching him red-handed in a bigamous marriage. I stepped out from behind Leo, walking slowly up to Logan. I looked at the diamond ring in the box. "That's a lovely ring, Logan," I said softly. A flash of smug victory lit up Logan's eyes. "I knew it. I knew you were just throwing a tantrum to get my attention. Maya, you can't live without me, we both." "No." Slap. The sound echoed sharply across the quiet courtyard. My palm struck his left cheek with every ounce of strength I possessed. The force of the blow snapped his head to the side, leaving a bright red handprint across his skin. Logan froze, his ring box dropping onto the gravel. He slowly brought a hand to his face, looking at me in absolute shock. "Maya, you hit me?" That slap was for 5 years of my life wasted on a spineless, hypocritical coward, I said, my voice echoing with icy clarity. I turned my head toward Ethan, who was cowering near the front door. "Ethan, bring out the laptop." Ethan trembled, looking at Logan, then at Grandpa Arthur's terrifying glare. Crying out in fear, Ethan sprinted inside and returned seconds later carrying his open laptop, handing it to me with shaking hands. I didn't open the chat screen. Instead, I pressed play on a full video file Leo's team had extracted and synced from Ethan's mirrored messages hours before. I hit full volume and cast the audio to the large outdoor speakers near the fountain, a system Grandpa used for garden music. The loud, crystal-clear voice of Tyler resonated through the entire estate. "Logan is a legend for pulling off a whole fake business trip. His girl is waiting at home while he gets married to another person abroad. Nobody plays the game like him." Then came Justin's laugh. "He ruined Mandy's weddings 8 times. If he didn't lock her down today, he was gonna snap." And finally, Logan's own cold, arrogant voice filled the courtyard. "Getting married in New Zealand isn't going to trigger a bigamy charge back home anytime soon. Ethan, relax. I'll take full responsibility for your sister. I can handle both sides. Once Mandy finishes her wedding visit, I'll settle her in Auckland. As for your sister, I'll take good care of her back home. The first thing I'll do when I get back is to marry her. She has been waiting for this for years anyway." The audio finished. The silence that followed was heavy enough to crush a man. Logan's face drained of every drop of color. His eyes bulged as he stared at the laptop in my hand. "No. Maya, wait, that was just guys talking, we were just drinking." Logan stammered, his confident posture collapsing completely. "It was a joke. I was just playing along with Tyler." "A joke?" Grandpa Arthur stepped down the marble stairs, his cane thumping heavily against the stone with every step. His face was dark with lethal fury. "You married another woman in New Zealand on Tuesday, Logan Bennett, Grandpa," Arthur said, his voice terrifyingly calm. "And you plan to keep my granddaughter as your hidden mistress back home, relying on our family's influence to sustain your failing company? Grandpa Brooks, please. Let me explain." Logan dropped to his knees on the gravel, scrambling toward the old man. "I love Maya. Mandy manipulated me. She trapped me in New Zealand. It was all Mandy's fault." "It doesn't matter whose fault it is, Logan," I said, stepping back into Leo's warm, supportive embrace. I reached into my handbag, pulled out the sleek, official red booklet from the county clerk's office, and tossed it right onto Logan's lap. "I'm officially married," I said, looking down at him as if he were a bug beneath my shoe. "Meet my husband, Leo Carter, chairman of Carter Capital." Logan's head snapped down to the marriage certificate, seeing my name linked permanently with Leo Carter's. Then, his eyes flicked up to Leo, the realization finally hitting his brain like a megaton bomb. "Carter Capital." Logan gasped, his breath catching in his throat. You're that Leo Carter? The one who controls the debt restructuring for Bennett Corp?" Leo looked down at the kneeling man with a cold, distant smile. "Correct, Mr. Bennett," Leo said softly. "And as of 5 minutes ago, my board has officially denied your company's credit extension. Bennett Corp's loans are due at noon tomorrow. I suggest you start liquidating your assets." The news hit the business world like a localized earthquake. By noon the next day, headlines across the financial press were buzzing. Bennett Corp faces insolvency as Carter Capital rejects bailout, internal. Marriage scandal triggers mass stock sell-off. Logan's attempt to pull off a secret bigamous lifestyle had completely backfired. Not only had the audio recording of Operation Cover-Up been leaked to the press by an anonymous source, but photos of Logan and Mandy's lavish, private, legal wedding in Auckland were now splashed across every major news portal, alongside my official marriage announcement with Leo Carter. The contrast was brutal. Logan was framed as a fraud who lied to his investors, breached corporate ethics, and betrayed his long-term partner. Meanwhile, Leo Carter's public backing of me elevated the Brooks family standing to unprecedented heights. Inside the grand penthouse suite of the Grand Hyatt, Mandy Cooper was going insane. She had flown back from Auckland on the first available commercial flight after Logan abandoned her at the airport. She had expected to return to a triumphant victory, to watch me weep, to watch me beg, to show the world that after 8 failed weddings, she had finally won Logan, the man who had tormented and pursued her for years. Instead, she returned to a horror movie. Her phone was ringing off the hook with calls from creditors, media outlets, and high society acquaintances mocking her relentless desperation. The door to the penthouse slammed open. Logan stumbled into the room, reeking of alcohol, his tie untied, his eyes hollow and bloodshot. Logan. Mandy rushed over, grabbing his arm. Logan, where have you been? My family's business partners are canceling all their contracts with us. The press is calling me a homewrecker. You need to release a statement right now. Tell them Maya was the one who cheated first. Tell them about that rent-a-groom. Logan looked at her. For 8 years, he had been obsessed with this woman. He had convinced himself that his obsession was revenge for his dead dog, that her defiance was a challenge he had to conquer. He had spent millions ruining her life just to keep her tied to him. But now, looking at her frantic, tear-streaked face, all he saw was the anchor that had dragged him into an absolute abyss. Rent-a-groom? Logan let out a sharp, unhinged laugh, shoving her away so hard she tumbled onto the velvet sofa. You stupid, arrogant bitch. Do you have any idea who that rent-a-groom was? Mandy bruised her elbow on the sofa frame, looking at him in shock. What are you talking about? He was just some college kid I hired off an app for $300. He's Leo Carter. Logan screamed, smashing a crystal vase against the wall. Shards flew everywhere. He's the head of Carter Capital. He owns our debt. He bought out my company's loans this morning and called them in immediately. I am ruined. Bennett Corp is going into bankruptcy by Friday. Mandy's face turned deathly pale. What? No, that's impossible. How could a guy like that be on a cheap service app? Because he was waiting for Maya. Logan bellowed, tears of rage and regret spilling down his face. He's been waiting for her for 3 years. While I was playing your stupid, exhausting cat-and-mouse games, while I was chasing you around the world like an idiot, a real man was waiting in the wings to take the best thing in my life away from me. Logan fell to his knees, clutching his head in agony. Maya loved me, he sobbed, his voice filled with a sickening, pitiful grief. She gave me 5 years. She took care of me. She stood by me when everyone said I was crazy. And I threw her away, for you. Mandy sat frozen on the couch, horror creeping into every corner of her mind. Logan. She whispered, her voice trembling. You married me. We're married. You said you loved me. Logan slowly raised his head. His eyes were cold, filled with a terrifying, venomous disgust. Love you? Logan spat on the floor. I never loved you, Mandy. I hated you. I was obsessed with winning against you. But now that I have you, you're worthless. To me. You're nothing but a penniless, shameful mistake. He stood up, walking toward the door. Where are you going? Mandy screamed, running after him, grabbing his jacket. You can't leave me. We're legally married. Not for long, Logan snapped, ripping his jacket out of her hands. I'm filing for an annulment on the grounds of fraud. And if that doesn't work, I'll sign the divorce papers tomorrow. Get out of my sight. He slammed the door in her face, leaving Mandy standing alone in the silent Suffocating sweet. For 8 years, she had played the tragic, glamorous heroine in a dark romance. Enjoying the drama of Logan's destructive obsession. She had used me as her shoulder to cry on, feeling superior every time I tried to mediate between them. Now, the drama was over. The stage had collapsed. She had no money, no reputation, no best friend to protect her, and a husband who despised the very sight of her breath. Meanwhile, at the Brooks family estate, a very different kind of reckoning was taking place. In the grand study, Grandpa Arthur sat behind his massive mahogany desk. I sat on the comfortable leather sofa, sipping warm Earl Grey tea, while Leo stood beside me, leaning casually against the armrest, his hand resting reassuringly on my shoulder. Standing in the center of the room, shivering violently, was my younger brother, Ethan. Grandpa. Sis. I'm sorry. Ethan sobbed, his head hung low. I was stupid. Logan promised me he would give me a 10% stake in his new tech subsidiary if I helped him keep Maya quiet. I didn't think he was actually going to hurt her. You sold out your own blood for a 10% stake in a dying company? Grandpa Arthur's voice was as cold as iron. He didn't raise his voice, which made it 10 times more terrifying. Ethan, I gave you everything. Top education, unlimited allowance, a guaranteed seat on the Brooks Group board after graduation. And yet, you chose to act as a informant for a man who humiliated your sister. Grandpa, please. Don't kick me out of the family. Ethan dropped to his knees, weeping hysterically. Maya, tell him. I'm your brother. I set my teacup down on the saucer with a soft, decisive clink. I looked at Ethan, the little brother I had shielded, spoiled, and advocated for all his life. You're right, Ethan, I said calmly. You are my brother. Which is why I won't let Grandpa throw you onto the street. Ethan's eyes lit up with sudden hope. Maya. Thank you. I knew you. However, I interrupted, my voice dropping into an unyielding register. You are no longer an heir to the Brooks family estate. Ethan's smile froze. Grandpa, I turned to Arthur, strip him of his trust fund and his position on the board. Send him to our manufacturing plant in the southern province. Let him start as an entry-level inventory clerk making minimum wage. If he can work his way up for 5 years without complaining, without using the Brooks name, then maybe he can earn his place back at this table. Grandpa Arthur looked at me, a rare look of profound pride shining in his sharp eyes. He nodded slowly. A wise and fitting decision, Grandpa said. He slammed his hand on the desk. Security. Take Ethan to his room. Pack 1 suitcase of basic clothes. His cards are cancelled as of right now. Put him on the 6 a.m. train to the Southern Factory tomorrow. Maya. No. You can't do this to me. Ethan screamed as 2 burly security guards dragged him out of the study. I'm your brother. Maya. The heavy oak doors shut, cutting off his desperate cries. The study fell into a peaceful silence. Grandpa Arthur leaned back in his chair, looking across the desk at Leo. Leo Carter, Grandpa said, his sharp eyes assessing my new husband. You moved fast. A bit too fast for my liking. Leo met the old man's gaze without a single flinch, his expression respectful, yet entirely equal. Mr. Brooks, I waited 3 years for the right moment, Leo said smoothly. When the opportunity presented itself, I took it. I assure you, my devotion to Maya is absolute, and my resources are entirely at her disposal. Grandpa Arthur stared at him for a long 10 seconds before the corners of his stern mouth twitched into a faint smile. Good, the old man said, picking up his pen. Logan Bennett was a weak, chaotic dog. You are a wolf. Just make sure you never turn those teeth toward my granddaughter, or all the capital in the world won't save you from me. Understood, sir, Leo smiled, bowing his head slightly. I would never dream of it. 3 weeks passed in a flash. The downfall of Bennett Corp was swift, absolute, and merciless. Without Carter Capital's financing, Logan's company was forced into liquidation to pay off its massive debts. His personal assets, including his luxury vehicles, penthouse, and family villas, were seized by the courts. To make matters worse, the news of his bigamous marriage stunt in New Zealand caused a massive public outcry, destroying his professional credibility permanently. No firm would touch him, no investor would take his calls. As for Mandy, her family's mid-tier enterprise suffered massive collateral damage due to their association with Logan's scandal. Facing public ridicule and social ostracization, her family hastily sent her away to a tiny, isolated town in rural Australia, cutting off her luxury spending to save what little remained of their family fortune. The toxic duo, who had spent 8 years exhausting everyone around them in a endless loop of dramatic, selfish games, were finally separated, bankrupt, and utterly forgotten by the high society they so desperately craved to rule. On a warm, golden Friday evening, I stood on the balcony of Leo's private estate, overlooking the city skyline. The air was crisp and sweet. For the first time in as long as I could remember, my mind was light, completely unburdened by anxiety or resentment. Warm arms wrapped around my waist from behind, bringing me back into a soft, secure chest. Leo rested his chin gently on my shoulder, his breath warm against my ear. "What are you thinking about?" he asked softly. "I was thinking about how ridiculous 5 years of my life were," I murmured, leaning back against him, placing my hands over his. "I spent so much time trying to be understanding, trying to be the good girlfriend who never complained, thinking that if I just endured enough, Logan would finally grow up and love me properly." Leo turned me around in his arms so I was facing him. He looked down at me, his eyes dark, deep, and filled with a fierce, unwavering warmth. "You never needed to endure anything, Maya," Leo said, his thumbs gently stroking my cheeks. "Real love doesn't demand that you erase yourself or swallow your dignity. It gives you space to breathe, to shine, and to feel safe." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, simple ring box, not a massive, flashy 5-carat diamond meant to show off status, but a delicate, breathtaking vintage ring crafted with a rare, radiant sapphire surrounded by microscopic diamonds that caught the twilight evening light like stars. "We got the paper at the clerk's office in a rush of vengeance," Leo murmured, taking my left hand into his. "But I want to do this right." He slipped the sapphire ring onto my finger. It fit perfectly. "Maya Brooks," Leo said, his eyes locking onto mine with absolute sincerity. "Will you allow me to spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret stepping into that county clerk's office with a $300 rent-a-groom?" A soft, genuine laugh bubbled up from my chest, spilling out into the quiet evening air. I leaned in, wrapping my arms around his neck, pressing my lips to his in a deep, sweet, and lingering kiss. "Yes," I whispered against his lips, feeling his arms tighten possessively around me. 1,000 times, yes. 6 months later, the grand cathedral at the heart of the capital was decorated with thousands of fresh white roses and delicate orchids. The guest list included international dignitaries, industry titans, and top figures from high society, all gathered to witness the official wedding of Leo Carter and Maya Brooks. Standing beside my grandfather at the entrance of the aisle, I wore a breathtaking, custom-designed off-the-shoulder gown made of fine French lace, the very style I had admired years ago, but crafted now with incomparable elegance. Specifically for me. Across the long, flower-draped aisle stood Leo. He was wearing a perfectly tailored black tuxedo, his eyes fixed entirely on me. As I walked toward him, there was no cold arrogance in his expression today, only pure, overwhelming devotion and pride. As Grandpa Arthur placed my hand in Leo's, the old man leaned over and whispered, "To Leo, take care of her." "With my life, sir," Leo replied softly. We exchanged our vows beneath the vaulted stained glass windows, our voices clear, steady, and filled with a joy that was entirely real. When the priest announced us husband and wife, Leo pulled me into his arms and dipped me slightly, kissing me deeply as the entire cathedral erupted into thunderous applause. As we walked out of the cathedral hand in hand, stepping into the bright, golden sunlight where flashbulbs clicked and flowers rained down around us, I caught a glimpse of a solitary, unkempt figure standing far beyond the security gates at the edge of the street. It was Logan. He was wearing a faded, oversized coat, his face gaunt, his hair long and messy. He was holding a stack of court papers, staring through the metal bars of the gate with hollow, bloodshot eyes as he watched me shine in the arms of another man. He had tried to come today, to catch one last glimpse of the girl who used to love him unconditionally, the girl he had carelessly thrown away. I didn't pause. I didn't flinch. I didn't feel a single flicker of pity or lingering anger. I simply looked away, turning my head toward my husband. Leo looked down at me, a soft, loving smile playing on his lips as he opened the door to our carriage. "Ready, Mrs. Carter?" he asked, holding out his hand. I placed my hand in his, stepping forward into the sunlit path of my new life. "Ready," I smiled. Behind us, the heavy cathedral doors closed forever on the ghost of the past, leaving nothing behind but the bright, endless future we were building together.